I'm Andrew Moran, Liberty Nation's economics editor.
Very, very rocky.
Death by government.
Drain the swamp.
Hello and welcome to another installment of Liberty Nation's Swamponomics videocast. I'm Andrew Moran, Liberty Nation's economics editor. This week, oil and gas are not going anywhere. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon recently appeared on CNBC during his visit to Davos, Switzerland for the annual attendance of James Bond villains, or the World Economic Forum. During his interview, he noted that oil and gas are needed for the next 50 years. If the climate zealots had their way and eradicated oil and gas production, it would be a, quote, calamity and global depression. He is absolutely right. World leaders everywhere are pledging to be net zero by 2050. This goal makes it critical to raise taxes, regulate everyone's lives, and send money to developing nations that are more than happy to nod their heads and accept that climate change is their new state religion, all in the name of free money. Years ago, many had stated that oil and gas would fade into the sunset in the coming decades. Today, any serious person agrees that windmills and solar panels will never fully eliminate the global population's need for crude oil, gasoline, natural gas, and perhaps even coal, based on some of the latest numbers. In a recent annual energy outlook from the US Energy Information Administration, it was predicted that global energy demand would soar by 47% in the next 30 years. Guess what the top source will be to satisfy this demand? You guessed it, oil, and followed by natural gas and coal. The International Energy Agency, or IEA, projected that oil and gas would provide 47% of the planet's energy needs. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, also agreed that crude oil, natural gas, and coal, again, would maintain their energy dominance by 2045. Indeed, developing markets are becoming wealthier, their middle class is growing, and their population levels are increasing. It only makes sense that energy demand will increase also. It is also important to know that Europe's green fetish of recent years led to today's energy crisis and sky-high prices. Instead of producing their own oil and gas, they chose to outsource their needs and believe that a windmill would power their countries. Meanwhile, surging prices of oil and gas force impoverished nations to turn to dirtier fuels such as coal and even animal waste. China recently announced that it intends to add 70 gigawatts of coal-fired power plants over the next year to keep the lights on, while also importing more crude oil and natural gas. This might seem like a cardinal sin in the book of Al Gore, but even the US is still reliant on something like coal, which accounts for nearly 1/4 of the nation's power generation. Perhaps President Joe Biden will dismiss this by following Europe's lead and redefining the term green energy to include natural gas. This administration has done it before with words like recession and women, so why not? Whether it is the Inflation Reduction Act or the Paris Climate Accords, these leftist efforts are nothing more than penalizing prosperity, subsidizing green energy with trillions in aid, and virtue signaling. All the while, millions are malnourished or residing in decrepit conditions. Rather than trying to demonize fossil fuels, the world should be celebrating how crude oil, as one example, is a building block of modern civilization. Many day-to-day products we possess, from Tylenol to eyeglasses, are derived from petroleum. It is a crucial cornerstone of our daily lives without even thinking about it. Climate activists and politicians routinely tell us that we need to make all these sacrifices to save the planet, whether it is no longer driving an automobile or eating meat. Perhaps they can take the lead and cease flying private jets, driving in luxurious vehicles, or wearing products made from petroleum products. Until then, everyone should celebrate fossil fuels by cranking up the air conditioner in the middle of the summer, turning all the lights on, and watching There Will Be Blood. That's it for me this week. Please read my full Swamponomics column on the pages of LibertyNation.com, where I discuss tech layoffs, egg smuggling, and the housing recession. Thank you.
Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.
I'm Andrew Moran, Liberty Nation's economics editor.
Very, very rocky.
Death by government.
Drain the swamp.